Welcome to Exploring the Paranormal. Hosted by Heather Leigh, PhD, Exploring the Paranormal offers a new, fresh look into paranormal research. Join Heather as she discusses some of the many haunted locations worldwide, discusses why these locations are haunted, hear from paranormal researchers about their personal experiences at these locations. Additionally, Heather takes a journey into the science behind the paranormal, discussing topics such as thermodynamics and the Heisenberg principle and how they both affect paranormal activity. Now, your host of Exploring the Paranormal, Dr. Heather Leigh.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Exploring the Paranormal. Today is going to be a fascinating show, as always. I have an amazing guest lined up. He's already backstage, so we will bring him on in just a few moments. And before we get started, as always, you guys know I always want to thank my sponsor, Omni Interactions. It's the company where you can work from home and get your life back. This is a 100% remote company looking for US-based customer service representatives to support their Fortune 500 clients. For more information, you can visit my website at heatherleighphd.com or getgig.life/paranormal. And you guys know, as I've mentioned, this company is absolutely amazing. You can schedule your shifts in 30-minute or 1-hour blocks, pick when you can work based on what availability there is, and it's definitely the perfect job for a paranormal researcher looking to make that extra money to either buy equipment, pay for travel, or to provide yourself with a full-time income working around your investigation schedule. And also, just to go over a few things real quick, don't forget, I will have some classes at TMC coming up later this fall, September 25th and October 9th. More information will be available about those. And tomorrow night on Ghost Education 101 on Facebook, we are joined by the Haunted Librarian to talk about Haunted York Merchants, and that is at 9 p.m. Eastern. And like I had said, it's on Ghost Education 101. You should easily be able to search that. If not, check out my Facebook page, and I will make sure I get that done for you. And that is all I have as far as I do have a couple announcements that I'll make later on in the show. Just before we close out, some exciting new things have happened. But today I want to welcome Dan Rivera. He is a senior, I think it's a senior lead investigator. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong on that one when you come on, but he's with NESPR, and he is here to talk about his personal experiences in the paranormal, his time meeting Lorraine and working with the Warrens, and also about their upcoming convention later this year. So let's give a warm welcome to Dan. Hey, Dan.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's senior lead investigator, right?
Senior lead investigator,
okay.
Right.
I thought I had your bio on my other screen, but I didn't. I was like, I thought that's what it said.
Yeah, it is what it is, you know.
You're there. No. So I know you have worked with the Warrens, but did you get involved in the paranormal far before that, or what kind of sparked your interest in the paranormal?
Prior to that, yeah, growing up as a child in a house that, I wouldn't say that it was haunted or anything like that. But it was more or less, I had family members, particularly an aunt that was dabbling in Santeria. We lived in a 4-family house, and her rituals or practices affected everybody in that, 4-family house. Her altar was underneath my bedroom. And I remember, 5 years old, being dragged out of bed, pushed into a wall. Come years later, found out that, some of my cousins were experiencing the same things. And it wasn't living with a ghost. It was pretty much living with something much more evil. And, my parents, kind of brushed it off, but knowing what she was doing. And I thought it was going to stop when my father decided to move out of Bridgeport into Stratford. but certain things continued there as well. Not that it followed me there, but I was starting to gain some abilities and hearing and seeing things. The gentleman that owned the house prior to us moving there was a taxi driver, and he committed suicide in the bathroom in the tub. And I picked up on that. And there were times where I was alone in the house. I'm in my bedroom like a regular teenager listening to Iron Maiden. And my parents were like, "Oh, you need to take those posters down. You know, they're evil and everything like that." And one day I'm in my room and all of a sudden somebody's knocking at my door. I hear 3 knocks. I'm like, "Well, what's that?" I mean, there's nobody home. I open up the doors, nobody there. And then I start hearing a gentleman's voice, telling me to get out of the house. And, I took the Iron Maiden posters down. Uh, but that's where it all started, when I was a child. And it pretty much, my abilities, starting to strengthen throughout the years. And I started my own paranormal group back when I was in my 20s. And just trying to study and understand where all this was coming from, and why I was hearing these voices or why I would see apparitions, and so that started my journey into the paranormal. And I started falling on cases that the Warrens had worked on, locations, houses that they've been at, and I was like, this is kind of weird. And the story gets a little bit more interesting. After I met Lorraine and Tony. I started helping them out, and they asked me, would you like to be a part of our organization and helping us out? And I jumped right on that because I knew there was always a connection there. But the weirdest connection is when I heard for the first time about the gentleman that was kicked out of the museum with his girlfriend. He started knocking on Annabelle's case and mocking Annabelle, and Ed saw that and said, "Son, you need to leave the museum." So when they left the museum, they got onto their motorcycle and they started driving down Route 25, heading towards the Route 8 connector. Now, this was back around 1980. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was heading home. I went to work with my father that Saturday to deliver pastries and bread and rolls to the local restaurants and diners. And his last stop was the Monroe Diner. And we were heading home back down Route 25, heading towards Route 8. And all of a sudden, a motorcycle went flying right by us, and it was a gentleman, riding the motorcycle and his girlfriend on the back seat. And I could remember her holding on to the back bar behind on the motorcycle. And my father said, "Dan, they're going to get into an accident." And as soon as we got down to the end of the Route 25 connector, when it hits Route 8, we saw the motorcycle on the side of the road. It was tossed more or less into the wood line. We didn't see the gentleman that was riding the motorcycle, but we did see his girlfriend sitting on the side curb, holding her head, and she was bleeding. I never made that connection till later on, that I witnessed that accident where Ed had told that gentleman to leave that museum. And that was my first connection with Annabelle without even knowing at the age of 8 years old.
Yeah, Annabelle, I don't know. She's not one you want to mess with.
and to this day now, I'm in charge of moving her and the artifacts in the museum. I built special cases for those items so we could take them out to the public and educate the public that evil does exist. Pretty much what Ed always wanted to do. Collecting these items that is proof. There is evil in this world, and how better to educate people when you have the proof.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things where I see all the different objects that are in the museum, and I guess you could say I kind of drool over it because I want to research them more, not just the actual, who are you, why are you here, let's take some photos and get some EVP recordings, but kind of take a scientific approach to it. would
Right.
just love to learn why
Yeah,
these
I
things are
mean,
haunted.
even some things are really, you could try to explain them scientifically. I mean, it's tough. I mean, can you explain a miracle?
Hmm.
And there's some doctors that see these miracles, but they really can't explain them, and they're so educated and what their abilities are and what they learned through their studies and school. But there's a higher, level that is on. You really can't explain it. I mean, this is God, is heaven, is hell, and those things that there's knowledge out there that we don't even know, and we probably would never know until we're on the other side,
Hmm.
and we gain that knowledge through God, and our job here on Earth is to recognize it and try to help people understand what it is and give them the best guidance,
Hmm.
give them the best help that we could give them. Um, there's a lot of people out there that go on these investigations, and it's just for the thrill factor. But there's more to it. I wouldn't go into a client's house and capture the best evidence I could capture and then put it out to the public. Look what I captured. It's not about that. It's about people. It's people that, you're dealing with individuals that are dealing with something that's causing mental anguish in their life. And you want to help them. You want to help them understand where it's coming from. There's a lot of physicians, psychologists, and everything that will give their opinion. Bottom line is that these people really want somebody to listen to them and try to figure out what they're going through. And I think that's where we come in and we dig deep into their past. When did it all start? What were the triggers? Because a lot of people are vulnerable when they're a child, and they hide these memories, of tragic things that happened to them. And my job and Tony's job, Lorraine, Ed, and everything is to figure out what those are, and then that's when you start the healing process.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the problem with paranormal teams now, because I personally blame social media and some of the TV shows, because they think that you could just go in, collect evidence, or my favorite is watching these people, client investigation, live streaming now. It's like,
Don't get me wrong. I mean, you have the younger generation that is really into that, and the paranormal and investigation has come a long way, and it's fine, as long as they understand what they're dabbling in, and how to protect themselves and those around them. But it comes to a point where that's not the most important thing about it, and people are just so focused on evidence, which is good, is validation. But in bottom line is, what if something happens to you? How are you going to deal with it? You know, are you going to go to the church for guidance? Are you going to go to someone that has a little bit more experience in that field? So what I see on social media, TikTok, and YouTube, I've worked with a couple influencers, but I also explain to them, what can happen, when you're dabbling with this type of investigations that they put on and everything, and they take risk, and it's dangerous.
Right. I mean, I'm all for posting, like if you go to a public location and conducting an investigation, you just kind of want to share, because I've known actually people who've gone live and they didn't catch something, but the people watching caught it.
Yep.
It's just, to me, it's bad taste to do it in the client's home.
But yeah, it's bad taste doing it. I mean, if you're at a haunted location, is an abandoned, whatever, it's good practice. It's good, research and different methods on investigating, which I'm fine with, because that's how I started, But and I noticed I was getting caught up on EVPs and fascinated by the voices coming through. And the weirdest thing was, what I caught on was years later, I would go back and listen to those EVPs, and I will hear something different. I will hear a different voice. It's like they're messing with you. They're trying to just pull you in and suck you in and wanting you to get more and more. So I think it's almost like a trap, So you need to be careful what you're calling out for, because the demonic is very tricky. Will make you believe that you're speaking to a child. We're not 100% sure what we're, communicating with. That's why you always need to protect yourself. There could be earthbound spirits, and I know there are, that need help crossing over. But there's a demonic that wants to lure you in, and eventually, and the demonic does not like us because we're created in God's image, and it wants to destroy us. So it will try to trap us. Everything that you see what's going around in the world today is all influenced by evil, and you're easily trapped into it because of all these diversions, and there's always something bad happening somewhere else, and it's just a diversion to keep you from looking over there. And that goes the same when you're paranormal investigating. There's always diversions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you talking about that right now reminds me of one of my favorite episodes of Paranormal State that Lorraine was on. It was when the one woman was conducting EVP sessions trying to reach her husband. And the woman had hundreds of hours of EVP, recordings. And Lorraine's like, she's got to stop.
Right.
We can't help her. And it's just, and she basically said what you said. She's trapped.
Yeah.
Needing to do it.
And I run into a lot of cases that are like that. Just recently, a gentleman that is a friend of mine, but he just got caught up in it. And he had purchased a home, and activity, was going on in the house. And I remember walking into that house. It was my second time there, and there was a banister, a railing on the fireplace. As soon as we walked into the room, I don't know how it happened, but that railing flew off the fireplace. And prior to that, I heard voices to that anyways, but it was telling me it didn't want me in that house. And I told them, it's like, you need to either fix this house up and sell it, or you can't, it's going to suck you in. It's going to consume you. And this I told him 2 years ago. And just recently, maybe 2 months ago, he reached out to me that he was dealing with depression, hearing voices, somebody whispering in his left ear. And that's when I guided him to the church, and to have, he actually got baptized through the church. And the priest was able to help him. And everything that I was telling him, the priest was telling him as well. And I told him, once you get the help from the church, you have to do the work. I want you to prove to me that, you could go to mass, you could follow the priest's direction, and everything will start turning around in your life. So he did that, and he sold the house, got out of financial debt. His life is going back to where it was better. He has a better understanding now of how this could consume your life. So, I think by me working with the traditional Catholic Church has taught me a lot. And, you never know everything. And you always need a higher faith. And I fall onto the church as Ed and Lorraine did, because the final step is the church, really, or faith,
right?
A good outlook in life. And I told him, you can't dabble with this anymore. Paranormal investigating, trying to conjure up spirits or anything like that, because they tried to destroy him. Certain people have certain things in their life that spirits are easily attracted to them. And if they're weak, or they had some personal issues that they were dealing with, alcohol, could be drugs, that they're targets. And they have to understand that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because the one rule I have in my house is we don't investigate in our house.
Yeah.
It's, and that's what the rule should be. And it's funny because we were doing an event when we lived back in Vegas, and they had requested that we had a spirit box, which we didn't have because it wasn't a tool that we used. So, and they're like, but this is a public event, people want immediate, just make the guest happy. So we ordered a spirit box, and I was like, how do we test this? So we ended up going to a park because I wasn't even going to turn it on in my house.
Right.
I'm like, this is the rule. We don't, so we
I'm
went
the
to
same
the park
way.
and tested it.
I'm the same way. This house I live in now has activity, and but it's not bad. And I know who it is. It's my wife's grandmother. She talks to me, and if I don't reply back to her, she gets a little bit louder. And but it's all good. And there's also Native American history in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Where about 300 Pequot Indians were massacred back there, and their bodies, sunk into the creek back there, and that's sacred ground.
Mm-hmm.
And the land is very sensitive with those spirits.
Mm-hmm.
So we respect that. And, our house is like everybody likes coming here because it's so peaceful. It really is. It's like one of the places you would just like to hang out at, but it is active. Mm-hmm. But it's a different kind of activity. And I wouldn't want to conjure up anything else,
mm-hmm.
That could come in because that's how strong the energy is here.
Yep. Yeah, no, I have everything, even when we move. The last thing out of where we're moving from are my crystals, and the first thing in is the sea salt, the crystals, the herbs. I sage the place. It's like, yeah. I want a clean slate when I move in, and good spirits can come in. Like my grandfather comes and visits every once in a while, but negative. And I tell them point blank, if they come in, I'm like, look, you don't belong here. Go. Right.
And in locations like this, I mean, they can amplify somebody that has attachments.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So speaking of protection, what do you do, or what do you recommend someone does? Any tips to protect yourself, either everyday life or on an investigation?
Like any SPR is a religious based mm-hmm. society. Right. So my protection is the Lord Jesus Christ. So it's through prayer, blessings through the church. But if anybody that goes on an investigation, they can always envision themselves, like Lorraine used to say, envision yourself and surround yourself with Christ's light, and ask Christ for his protection over you. And also, you say prayers after you leave an investigation. This way, you're not bringing any attachments home with you. Mm-hmm. And then those things are I think the younger generation were really not focused on that or taught that. And I think, I would like to teach them that. And I think that's, especially this generation, I think I want to call this the lost generation. But there's still hope, and you can't give up on them because no matter what, they're our future, and we want to see our future to be a good future. And right now, the way things are going in this world, everything's upside down. And all we could do is just try to make it a better place, not just through paranormal, but just guiding this next generation and help them understand what life is really about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of shove them in the right direction.
Right.
And going back to Annabelle real quick, one thing I don't know why it popped into my head, but have you ever had any experiences moving her? Like vision that popped in my head is like you're holding her and you're moving her, and all of a sudden her head turns and looks at you.
Nah, that's never happened. If it did, I wouldn't be handling her anymore. But I've lost a couple of vehicles, and my wife was like, Dan, notice every time you handle Annabelle, you lose a vehicle. God, I got 2 classic cars now. So I take great precautions now when I move her, and what Ed taught us, never let that doll touch your bare skin. And it's one of the reasons why Wade Kirby made me some gloves that he had blessed through the church in New York, St. Michael's.
Mm-hmm.
And in each finger, there's a holy relic.
Okay.
So you have St. Michael, you have St. Benedict medals, in each finger of that glove. And then I have the Lord's crucifix on my palms. So using the gloves, and that's what I do when I move Annabelle. I have those gloves on, and I also have a blessing through the church as well. Just and drench my hands in holy water for my protection, and for the protection of others when we take these items to our events. The Warren Seekers of the Supernatural Paracon last year, and this year we're calling it PhantasmaCon. And reasons why I will explain a little bit more about why we're calling it that. It's a mix of the paranormal, the legacy of Ed and Lorraine Warren, as well as our legacy, and we're throwing in horror in there as well. It's going to be a surprise. Some of these horror celebrities that we're going to have here, I can't mention them all, but I believe you're going to be very excited about it once we mention those celebrities from that industry. And there's a little connection to the Conjuring series as well. That's all I can say right now. But we have some great speakers. Tony and I are going to be doing our speaking, and Arnie Johnson. And then we're going to have the TAPS group. We're going to have Jason Hawes. We're going to have his daughter Satori, and her boyfriend Cody as well. Ronnie LeBlanc, he's going to be there, and quite a few other speakers that we're going to have. Mm-hmm. So not only that, but we're going to have over 150 vendors. Last year's event, we only rented out only a quarter of the convention center, and it was such a huge success, and the fans wanted more. So we're going bigger. We're renting out the full convention center this time. We're doubling up on our speaker events, the capacity, how many people we could allow into a room. Because last year, there were people still waiting in line to come in, and we didn't have the seating. So we're trying to, please our fans by giving them what they want, and we don't want to leave anybody behind. So we doubled our capacity in our speaker lectures. I think last year was about 750. So this year we're going to be allowing 1,500 people into the lecture hall.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just we want to make sure everybody's pleased, and we don't like to see anybody dissatisfied. We didn't have too many people that were dissatisfied, but I could understand when someone's waiting in line, and then they come almost there, and we reached full capacity. Right. So we want to make sure that everybody has that experience, and we're looking to making the lines move faster, and people are happy.
Right. Yeah. And that's the tough call. I mean, granted, I didn't put together big events like that, but I did when I hosted a website out in Vegas. We put on events, and it was children's events, and we had all the vendors and, the speakers and everything going on. And it was one of those, no matter how good the event went, you always had that one person
yeah,
who's not happy.
You're going to have that's going to happen. But if it's more than one person, then there's something that you need to work on. Right. So we're doing everything possible that we could do to please the audience. It's like going to Disney World, and they have that one main attraction, and everybody's in line to get on that ride. You have to wait a couple hours to get on that ride. There's no other attraction like that. That's pretty much how our Paracon is. It's a one-of-a-kind event. And all we could do is just try to make it a better experience for our fans.
Yep, just take that feedback and move on.
That's it.
And that's the tough part is you have to, I know I'm really bad at it, but you need to have thick skin in this field, or, in events even.
I mean, we've learned from Ed and Lorraine. Ed and Lorraine were being attacked from day one. you know, and you always had your critics and everything like that. My thing is, I don't like retaliating on and feeding into that. You know, as long as we know what we're doing and what we're doing is right, that's all that matters. And people see that in you and your honesty and your integrity and how you hold yourself up. I mean, that's more important than anybody attacking you with negative, words or saying, "No, that never happened. They faked it." I like to say we don't fake anything. We don't. Everything's true to the heart and what we do. And we've been around since 1952. And we're going to continue that legacy. All right. And that's just not living off of Ed Lorraine's legacy or what they've done to get us to where we're at now. It's proven that we could continue holding that torch and helping those that need help. And we don't publicize everything. We don't brag about it or anything like that, because we're dealing with real people here.
Right. Yeah. And hold that thought real quick. We do need to take a quick commercial break. But real quick, before we go to commercial break, again, I want to thank my sponsor, Omni Interactions. Definitely make sure you check them out. They've been an amazing sponsor. Love having them be a part of this show. You can find them at getgig.life/paranormal, and we will be right back after this commercial break.
The Body Code is a revolutionary method of energetic healing developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which allows us to quickly and easily identify specific imbalances that seem to underline chronic ill health, acute and chronic pain, and discomfort, dysfunction, and stress. Ellie energetically connects with the subconscious of the client. Psychic medium Ellie Weisensell is a medical intuitive and energy healer and a certified body code practitioner. She identifies and clears energetic imbalances within the body and energy field. Contact Ellie at the website below, and Ellie can work remotely from a distance, by phone, online, video chat. There's no need to travel to an office. Remember, the Body Code is safe for humans and animals. Contact Ellie today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Exploring the Paranormal. I'm joined today by Dan Rivera, who's been an amazing guest so far. Thank you for joining again today. I'm so glad. I have trouble getting people in the morning, and I was really glad you were able to join.
No problem at all.
Yeah. And Lee, I see you're watching. I see you commenting. Thank you for joining the show again and watching us. If anyone has any questions, even if you have questions when you're watching the replay, make sure you ask those. And if I see them, I will make sure I get them either answered by myself, or if it's a question for Dan, I'll pass it along to Dan and get him to answer it for you. So one thing you had mentioned about faking evidence, that is a big thing that I've encountered a lot lately. And I know there was one client we were working with, they sent us all these photos from a team, and it was like all these they weren't even orbs, they were just like little light streaks all through this woman's house. And when you went to this team's Facebook page, they not only shared the client's evidence that we were talking to, but they also shared evidence from another case, and they had the same little light streaks. And it's like, in the same place. So either there's something wrong with their camera or they're, faking it, I guess you would say. How many times do you guys have to run into that? And I'm sure, clean up the mess of other teams.
There's quite a few times. But it's easy to look at a picture and try to figure out what's going on, but you can never give a definite answer to a client or an individual unless you're there to see the environment, what could be causing it. So there's a lot of things we need to rule out before we can even come to a conclusion, or even if we could. So by showing clients something that really you can't explain unless you're there in that environment. And I hope they're not doing that, or not, falsificating their evidence to prove that, oh, look, we captured something. A lot of the next one, it leads it back to social media, TikTok, and everything, and people are doing it just for clicks. And and that's not cool. And I think if you're going to show evidence to somebody, at least have some kind of validation to it, some proof, and explain the environment as well. Camera to camera can also cause streaks of light from the IR. And then there's always something that you can always rule out. It's the things that you really, when you're in there in that environment and you witness it, to you, that's real. When you show it to somebody else, they're going to critique it no matter what.
Yeah, that's part of our jobs. I think I always critique it until I don't have an example or an explanation. I mean, I run photos through the ringer.
Yeah. And you also got to look at the photos have a database.
Yep.
And you can see where somebody was manipulating the photos. So if you're smart enough, you can look at the database of that photo if they send you the original.
Exactly. That's the first thing I look at. And if it's not, if the EXIF information isn't there, I don't even bother looking at the photo, because that means they've done something to delete it.
Correct.
Unless it's a scanned in photo from like the 70s or 80s where they didn't have the digital work.
Right. And, most people, when they see this on social media or whatever, they're not going to question much of the data of the photo. Some people will just fall into that trap, and they say, I call them traps, where they're sucked into it, and it's amazing what they're seeing on their screen. But what's the backstory of it? And that's the whole thing about this field. I think it's more popular now, but I think it's too mainstream in a way that people want that excitement, so they're gonna put things out there that's not real.
Right. Yeah. And it's sad, because I had lunch when we were back in Vegas with someone who wanted to partner with our team. And he pulled out his phone and he was like, oh, check out apparently a spirit followed him everywhere he went. And he pulled out his phone and was showing me photos inside an office building, at a park, in a cemetery, in his own home. And he's like, look, this little girl follows me everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it, and the girl was in the same position in every photo. So I had him set just a quick reverse image search of the little girl, brought up the iPhone Ghost app.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, really? I immediately called him. I said, sorry, we're not going to work with you.
Yeah. God, when you got to do that, I mean, you got to be desperate. And that's what I'm saying. I think we just got to teach them the right way, these people, and understand what we're really dealing with when we're doing these investigations. Because down the road, they're going to be affected by it one way or the other. Somebody's going to be affected by it because they're dabbling in something that they shouldn't be dabbling in. And what Ed used to call them is you're creating topas, and you're inviting a demon in, and you're giving it an identity. And when that happens, that creates the attachments. It creates the attachments at locations, the most haunted locations in the world. You could go investigate, but a lot of the activity that's happening in that location is not what originally happened there. They're topas that are created through manifestation of the mind and identities, and you leave that imprint there for the next person to come in to feed off of it.
Yeah, actually, funny that you mentioned that. It's in one of my books, I had written a chapter on, could these spirits be actual imprints? Like when you go to ghost towns that do reenactments, is it really the spirits of the ghost town, or is it a new entity that has been created because of all of the energy and, the reenactment and the recognizing
Right.
that these spirits are there,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's interesting how, and that's where it's like you can never get an answer in this field. It's if it's not this, it could be this. If it's not that, it could be
And that's
something
why
completely different.
you got to ask a lot of questions. You got to see what's real and what's not real. When you're looking at the history, you go more towards of the history of the environment you're in, the location that you're at. Everything else could have been brought in, and that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, that just all goes back to the getting to know the client, getting to know the location.
Yeah.
And, I tell people when you dig into the history of a location, you need to learn more about the history of the site. You need to learn about the history of the people who live there, and more than just that. It's
Oh, yeah. It's very interesting because when you want to go in there, you want to know the correct history of that location. And when it's being manipulated, you're changing history.
Mm-hmm.
The story changes as it goes along, and then we lose all focus of what's really happening.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I mean, I'm a firm believer of studying. I mean, I know you don't want to send a psychic in knowing the history of a location, but I truly believe in knowing 100% of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it paid off once. One example that I use quite often is we did an investigation of a location that used to be an old Mormon fort. And during the investigation, one of the investigators asked, "Who's the current president?"
Right.
And our response was Jeff's. And they're immediately like, nope, you're wrong. And I'm like, and here I am, the one who researched the property beforehand. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, the FLDS believe that Rulon and Warren Jeffs are their, are the president while they're the prophet. And
right.
It completely made sense.
Yeah. When I go on an investigation, my abilities,
Mm-hmm.
Is that I feel emotions. So sometimes I could pick up on those emotions that are attached to that property, and then it starts telling me the story. It starts telling me what happened there. So, and it even goes with individuals as well. I can tell when they're not telling me the truth, and then I let them go, and I let them finish. But then then I catch them, and then that's when they start opening it up and everything because they've been caught out. But yeah, I really can't explain it because it doesn't happen to me all the time. It comes to me when it wants to come to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what. It's one of the things Lorraine always said. She wanted to test me, test my abilities and everything. Everybody's a little bit different. Lorraine would say, she saw the light that would come from my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I really never understood what she was saying until it was the day before she had passed away. I was over at the house, and she was laying in bed and just staring at the ceiling. But Lorraine had these blue eyes. It was kind of they're beautiful eyes, but I could see through her eyes, and I could see that light. And then I understood what she was talking about when she said, "I could see the light coming through your eyes." Because I saw it in her eyes that day. And the next day is when I got the phone call that morning from Tony that Lorraine had passed away in the middle of the night. She was good to me, I want to say. And not only is that she taught me about the paranormal, she taught me affection in a way that when I joined that group, I was going through a tough time in my life. And they allowed me in and allowed me to heal. And I think that's more I appreciate about Lorraine and Tony, that they trusted me and they gave me a place there.
Right.
And it was just like we weren't blood or anything like that, but they accepted me as one of them, and I can never forget that. And then that's what I show to my clients, when they allow me in, it's the appreciation and trust that allowing me to pass that knowledge on, and getting them the right help. So It's not, having a big head or anything like that in this field. It's just knowing what's right and passing on the best information that you could.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. No, and that's the problem with this field is a lot of people view things as ego. And, some of it, yes, is ego.
Yeah.
Openly admit that. But a lot of times, just because a person takes charge or wants to do something a certain way, it's not because of their ego. It's because they want it done right.
Right.
Or they have the experience and know how things should be done.
But always take care of somebody's opinion. I mean, everybody has a valid opinion. We just have to look at it and to make sure that their opinion is accurate and correct. And sometimes you got to give them a little space and allow their opinion to be part of the solution, and see if it works. Like I said, I don't think there's really really you call experts in this field or anything like that, because you need other people around you that have different abilities, different expertise, different outlooks on how things could happen. But generally, in our faith in God, we have to put that faith in God to give us that final answer in our judgments.
Yep. Yeah. No, my thing is I've run into a lot of people who are like, no, you should try to do it, differently. And it's like, well, how? Give me your opinion. And they're like, nope, nope, nope. You have an ego. And it's like,
right. But something like I said, yeah. And then there's a way to bring them back down to earth too.
Right.
You got to get onto their way of thinking and take the ego away, and and just speak to them, and they can speak to you as a person. And it's like nobody else is around, like nobody else is watching, and they become more down to earth. And so there's different ways to get into somebody's psyche and find that true person in them.
Yep. Yeah. And that's always the hardest thing is, people can tell you left and right all day long that you're wrong and you're not doing it right. But then when you ask them, okay, put some input into this, and they're like, they don't have any.
Right. And then that's when that they're open either to learn or to walk away, because it's not about them.
Right. Exactly. And one thing I wanted to talk about, just because I know your organization deals with a lot of demonic and negative cases. I know in general in the paranormal field, demonic cases aren't common. But because that's what you guys specialize in, how common are they for you guys to experience?
They're more common than you think. I think a lot of, like I said, everything that's going around in this world today, people are being affected without realizing that they're being affected. We're in trying times right now, and it's easily to get caught up in it. Then you deal with those individuals that is demonic influenced personally, and we have to figure it out, and lead them to help, whatever means it takes. It's just tough these days because so much is going on, and then you have to rule out the mental aspect of it, versus something that's demonic, in which could be somebody that's dealing with some anguish and mental anguish. So it's really tough, but you have to weed that out and understand what's going on, and then you find the proper help for them. It can be medication, and they don't need to be embarrassed about that. Or it's guidance and it's understanding of what happened to them in their past, or they're just, so pure and honest people that they attract good and evil is affecting their lives because they want to destroy it. So, there's a lot to think about and a lot to digest and figure out what's the best solution.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, because there's so many factors that it could be. And then, of course, you have the people who don't want to let the entity go. And, the minute you close the case, or, you know, an exorcism's been done or whatever ends up being done to them, they call you back in a couple months and you ask them what they did. They're like, well, I, you know, pulled out a Ouija board, or I started talking to them again. And
see, because that they're sucked in. And I've been on cases where I had 3 exorcisms performed, and then, you know, like you said, a year or 2 years later, they're giving you a call that, hey, it's happening again. And then you come to find out that they were, you know, they weren't strong enough. They didn't follow your directions. And when that happens, then they're putting you in danger, because you're sucked into it and you're emotionally involved in it. And that's not a good thing either, because I like taking on cases. And once I bring it to the church handles it from there.
Right.
You know, and it's up to them to follow those directions from the church. And there's pretty much nothing else that I could do. You know, only pray for them.
Right.
I can only lead you to the path, and it's up to you to continue that path.
Right.
And it's like climbing that mountain. You know, it's hard, and sometimes you're going to fall, and it's up to you to get back up and keep on climbing. You know, but it's easy to fall down and roll down that hill and give up. You know, so in general, in life is a battle, and you always got to fight. You always got to fight to keep going forward. If you just drop and lay there, you're not going anywhere, and everything's going to stay the same.
Yep. Yeah, that's the hard part. I mean, I've actually even been victim to that every once in a while, where you just want to give up, and I usually will have my pity party, I call it, for a day. Yeah. And then by nighttime, it's like, why was I in bed all day today? And then the next day I suddenly have a burst of energy.
Well, that's the same thing. I mean, it's one of the bad things about working in this field and wanting to help people, because the demonic attacks you, and it wants to keep you from helping others. So it's going to put you in that stage of depression sometimes. Yep. All right, but you got to catch yourself and get out of it fast. All right, and understand that you need to rebuild your armor and what your purpose in life is, and continue doing the work. And if you can't do it, and you see that it's sucking you down, and you're caught in this depression all the time, and then you don't need to be in this field.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's the ability to snap out of it.
Right.
That sets us apart, I guess you would say, from the others.
Yeah. You got to know where it's coming from.
Yep. And the one question I did have while you were talking, so I was going to ask you this, was, so when you're helping a client, you refer them to the church. So you guys don't have an exorcist on your team, or how does that work?
There's people that want to be associated with us, and they're not bad people, you know, and they have good intentions. But then I always question everything, and I question people sometimes, and what are they getting out of this? When I work with the church doesn't want to be televised or interviewed or go to events to promote themselves.
Right.
That's when you know that they really want to help you, you know, and work with you. But they don't want credit for it. We have people in this field that say they're ordained by a church, or they have their ministry, and sometimes and they're recognized by the Catholic Church, but they're really not. And I don't say that their heart's not in it, but don't falsificate or lie to me saying that you have all that, when it's just because you shouldn't be promoting yourselves in a way that you're putting yourself before God in the church. So I always and it's hard. Because I don't want to create enemies, you know, but sometimes it happens that way, because you don't follow them or believe in what they're doing, because they put themselves ahead of everything else. You know, I think when you're in this religious field, or you're in a Catholic, you're a priest and everything, you always put God first, right?
Yep, exactly.
So that's how I look at it. And then that's why, I got to be careful what I say as well, because there are people that have good intentions, but it's not right.
Mhm.
So I have my reservations, but there's always somebody that wants to be associated with you,
Mhm.
either for they could promote themselves more. Um, and that's what bothers me. That's what hurts me the most. Because you don't want to tell them that. I'm telling you that people are hearing it right now, but um, it's just me, you
Mhm.
know. But I can never talk. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because I know what my intentions are, and sometimes I see other people's intentions, and then I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I completely get it. I ended up leaving a team just because it wasn't so much that I wasn't getting along with the other members, but I felt like the other members didn't appreciate what I was doing.
hmm
So I left the team, started my own team. And then once I started getting, the books published, radio shows, was in a documentary, it's like next thing I know, I'm getting messages, hey, we need to investigate together again. And it's like, really?
yeah, yeah,
You didn't talk to me when I was a member of the team, but now you're going to talk to me?
right. And then you know, it is what it is. All we could do is just keep doing what we're doing.
Mhm.
Um, and I said integrity goes a long way.
Mhm.
Sometimes you need to stand up for your beliefs
Yep.
and never change. And I think down the road, people will see that, and see what your intentions really were. And in general, in life or in this field, it speaks volumes. And I don't care for TV shows or anything like that. I mean, I produced my own on Netflix, but hey, it happened. But I don't let that go to my head. Bills come and go, and
Mhm.
I just want to be remembered what I contributed, and the people that I helped remember me. So if I'm never on a show, I'm not going to worry about it. But I'm telling you right now, if I make a damn good imprint in
Mhm.
what I'm doing, hell, maybe 30 years from now they'll make a movie. But
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
what happened. They made a movie about Ed and Lorraine.
Mhm.
Ed never saw the movies.
Right.
You know, but he never gave up, and he continued doing what he loved to do. And
Mhm.
so did Lorraine to the day she died. She fought. She had her beliefs, and she continued doing what she loved to do.
Mhm.
All right, and that's what really counts.
Yep. And that's what I always tell people is, don't get in this to get that show. Do your
Uh,
thing, do you, do whatever
Yeah,
you need to do, and the shows will come to you.
yeah. I mean, you get lost in it, then it becomes a fake person that you're
Right.
portraying.
Mhm.
All I say is just be you. If something comes along, it comes along. But there's more important things in life than any of that stuff, really.
Right. Exactly. And I want to go back to, I'm trying to think of a nice word to put it, but what keeps coming to mind is fake priests, but the priests that are misleading, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Because you guys mostly cover the New England area, if someone elsewhere needs help, how do they determine if who they're working with is actually part of the Catholic Church or legitimate in the aspects of being able to help
You
them?
you have to do your research. What they're affiliated with. Where is the organization at? Where is the physical body of that church at?
Mhm.
Where's their parish at? All right. Well, not just being a priest, but the bishop. Even if you're doing it, it doesn't have to be Catholic
Mhm.
church. It could be Protestant. It could be whatever. It's just that where's that physical church? Where's your parish? Where's your flock?
Mhm.
You know, that I see as more of a legit. You know, if I look and I do my research and I find that this church doesn't exist, or it's a food pantry, you know, you know, it's just you run into those. And I really don't trust that.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you would say online church.
Yeah, I don't know what these people's intentions are. And I when Jesus and he had his disciples, the disciples had a flock, they had a
Hmm.
following. All right, that was their church, that was their body,
Hmm.
right, and that their message. I don't understand some of these priests that say that they're priests and they don't have that foundation.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
you need that foundation.
Hmm. Yeah, they probably started with good intentions, but got led astray.
I think so. I think so, and that's why, you know, people's original intentions. I think their faith and their beliefs are there, and
Hmm.
they really want to help people. But when you present yourself, make sure that you have that foundation behind you.
Hmm.
Because people are going to look at you and judge you now.
Right.
All right. And if
Hmm.
I go to my church, is a traditional Catholic church, the foundation is there. I know
Hmm.
their beliefs, you know,
Yep.
and they don't judge me. I'm not going to judge them, but I follow their directions and, they listen to me,
Hmm.
because some of these churches don't believe in what we do. If I can find a church that believes that my heart is in the right place and what I'm doing, they're going to help me.
Right.
But then there's a lot that I have to do in order to get that help from the church, because I have to go through, I got to do mass, I got to do confession, everything,
Hmm.
the fasting and everything. People don't understand that there's a lot involved in it, and there's
Hmm.
commitment.
Yep. Yep. And especially it's Jeff. There's just I don't even know. It's because I was raised Roman Catholic up until I became an adult, and it was just there's a lot to do if you want to follow the faith, or even if you want help from the church,
Yeah,
like
and
you
it's
say.
finding that right priest, a pious priest that
Yep.
will listen to you and understand, because there are some priests out there in the Roman Catholic Church that won't give you the time and day.
Hmm.
They're individuals, they're people.
Right.
You know, it's just a matter of finding that right church and that right priest or pastor, or whoever you're looking for comfort and guidance.
Hmm.
And you have to search them out.
Yep, exactly. And Lee had mentioned something a little bit ago in the comments. She had said that she thought she had heard that Ed was thrilled about the actor who was to play him in the original Amityville horror. And you had mentioned that Ed had passed before, but I'm thinking you
Well,
mentioned Ed passed before Conjuring.
no, it wasn't before the Conjuring series, is what I'm
Right.
saying. He never got to see anything about the Conjuring series. The Amityville horror movie. I mean, they played a small part in that movie.
Hmm.
You know,
I have to go back and watch that again because I don't even remember Ed and
I mean,
Lorraine
being
being in it.
mentioned in that. There might have been like spin-off series, like on ABC or something. But other than being physically being portrayed in a movie, they could have been on specials on ABC. On some of their cases that they worked on. So yeah, he could have been excited about that they portrayed him in those specials that they had on TV. But being on the big screen, like for the Conjuring series, he never got to see that.
Yeah. And she also had mentioned shortly after when we were talking about Exorcist, they need special training. I'm assuming, of course, they would. But do you happen to know what kind of special training an exorcist would need?
Um, Through the church, like I know through the Catholic Church, Latin masses and everything, they're trained from the get go.
Hmm.
Um, and then through the Roman Catholic Church, they have a different sector for exorcisms and everything. So that's all done through the Roman Catholic Church in Rome. And then again, like I told you, you would have to be a part of that church and become a priest in order to get that education from them
Right.
to be an exorcist. And like I said, they don't like it being televised or being filmed or anything like that. You have a lot of good exorcists that are out there that are, you know, recently they just made a movie about, you know, one of the priests that was an exorcist. But it's Hollywood and it's embellished, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Actually,
you
the
if you've
movie
seen
that they
that one,
made
but
about him, I actually fell on a case that he worked on, and I was helping this client. And this was back in Germany. And I really don't want to get too much into it because I'm going to be getting phone calls.
no, just share what you can. You don't.
But yeah, it's very very interesting how you fall upon these cases and the involvement of certain exorcists that were involved in it, and the documentations that I received from that case by the priest himself. You know, psychological reports. I mean, they do all that stuff, and then their own reports. So it's fascinating. You know.
And do they ever, I mean, I know you said that they don't do it for the filming or want any publicity, but do they do recordings, like, I guess, to protect themselves during an exorcism? Just kind of.
If it's done, it's probably through the Vatican. I know there's been a couple that been recorded, but there's certain reasons why they don't want it recorded. Okay. I think is given the demonic face value, you want to say, and the exposure and repeating itself, and that might be something. There might be something to that. So you're capturing something evil on film, and then you're repeating it over and over again. You know, is it good to see it? Maybe once to understand what's happening. But not to get attached and you know, something that you enjoy watching, because it's something that is not enjoyable to watch or personally see.
Right.
You know, because I was involved in a couple exorcisms, and it wasn't enjoyable to watch. Sometimes it's a miracle, and sometimes it's a battle, and you never forget it. You never forget that image, and it sticks with you. So in working with the church and being involved, I walk away sometimes because I do get affected by it, and you know, you need to take a break from it, because it does affect your life, it does affect everybody around you, and you got to pull yourself away from it, and then when you build that armor again and you're ready to fight again, and then that's when you go back in, you know, and it lets you know when it's time to go back in. You start getting these phone calls, and it'll be one case, then one case after that, and then it's 3 cases. There's always 3. I'm waiting for the 3rd one right now. It's just weird. It's weird, and I really don't understand why I'm doing this yet. You know, but if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But I know when to pull away. You know, and then when it's time to get back in.
Yeah. No, I know that feeling. I haven't done a residential case in quite a while outside of consulting from the background, because I had a case just before we left Vegas, and it was I want to say 77 years old, but she was in her late 70s, and she was, you know, complaining that she was being sexually assaulted. And we went in and did one group did one investigation, we did an investigation. The only evidence we got was her voice on a digital voice recorder saying "get out," but the video camera was pointing at her and she wasn't saying anything at the time.
Right.
So she psychically imprinted on that. And then when we told her there was no evidence that she was, you know, being, you know, haunted or anything like that, she was on the phone with me for an hour just crying. I'm not crazy. I'm not, is what she kept saying. And it broke my heart,
Yeah.
And I knew at that point in time I had to take a break from dealing with clients for a while because I wasn't mentally there anymore because
Yeah.
I always think of her.
Yeah. You get emotionally in that attachment,
Yeah.
emotionally attached, and that's what I try not to get emotionally attached. And I tell my clients that I really do tell my clients that it's like, you know, I'm going to get you the best help that I could possibly get you.
Yeah.
You know, and then once I lead you to that path, I mean, it's pretty much up to you to continue that.
Yeah.
And there's pretty much nothing else that I could do, you know.
Yeah, no, we still guided her in the right direction. We told her to go, go to her church, get rebaptized, do a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And I think she did, but it truly broke my heart because there was no paranormal activity that we captured. And it could have been they didn't want us to know they were there. And they were just torturing her behind the scenes, or, she really wasn't having anything.
And that's where you have to go back in her past to find out what happened to her when she was younger. Because there are things that people hide, and they're embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
And you need to bring that to light, and they need to confront it, because that's what's, it's giving the demonic something to torture them by.
Right.
And once they start talking and they bring it out to the open, now you're starting the healing process. And that's what people really need. They need you need to listen. And don't talk over them. Listen to them, and then you start getting the full story.
Yep. Yeah, and it's also knowing what questions to ask.
Yeah.
To get them to open up.
And I don't think everybody doesn't have that. And that's why you need other people around you that has those strengths. To communicate. You might be a great investigator, but you're not a good communicator. And that's why you need people around you. I don't like our organization. I like our organization small because it's controllable, but you make sure you surround yourself with the best people that have good hearts around you. I can't run an organization that, and I'm sad to say it, but I can't run an organization that has hundreds of people because I can't control that.
Right.
I'm not physically there to control that. That's my reputation. I put in your hands, and I can't see you doing that. So I'd rather keep this organization, and Tony agrees with me, Lorraine would agree with me, Judy would agree with me. It's within family and controlling what our environment is and who the people are around us with the right intentions.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100% because my team is my husband, who's a complete skeptic, and my son, who's just curious. But he's 19 now, but he started when he was 16.
Right.
And I always joke because I've trained them right.
Yeah, it's not it's you train them right, but it's other people will see that and they can learn from us by our character. Yep. We don't need to have all these followers, to show my character. Jesus only had 12 disciples.
Right.
And that's all he needed. And it spread throughout the whole world.
Yep.
Just with 12 disciples. All right.
Exactly.
I don't need thousands of disciples doing that because the message gets lost in there somewhere.
Yep.
So just keep it simple and keep it close, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah, I have a few people from Vegas that I still will consult with on cases, and one actually moved to Florida for a while, and we had plans on working together, but he moved back to Vegas. And other than that, I truly need to know who I'm working with.
Yeah,
I've learned the hard way one too many times.
If people want to learn from you or anything like that, just watch and listen. What we do, our reputation, and try to be good people. And that's all it is. It's just being good people.
Yep, exactly. And yeah, Lee just caught me off guard there. I was reading a comment that popped up. She says, of all the team members' interviews that she's listened to, Ed and Lorraine, I'm assuming is who she meant by they, left a great legacy behind. So yeah, because I had Tony on about a month ago.
Right.
I think it was already.
Yeah.
God, time flies by.
You know, so Tony has great knowledge. I mean,
Yes.
Tony's like a book. He listened to everything Ed told him, everything Lorraine told him, word by word. He remembers everything. And I learned a lot from Tony.
It's too late.
Yeah. And I learned a lot from Tony, and I also brought my own abilities into the group, and we learn from each other. We have good team members. Chris Lauren, he's a good team member. He helps out with the Paracons. We're part of our partnership. There's Tony, Chris, and myself, and Chris busts his ass. Putting on this event more than what you think. I like doing the marketing and advertising and everything like that, but Chris is like behind the scenes guy and making sure everything runs smoothly, booking things. Tony with his connections with the media and everything. We have a great team, for the Paracon, and we put on the best show possible. So October 28th is our Seekers of the Supernatural Phantasmacon at Mohegan Sun Casino, our second biggest event there. And you could go to nesbr.ticketbud.com to purchase your tickets, or go to warrens.net. You can get your tickets through there as well. But it's a show that you don't want to miss. You have all these other Paracons out there, which I don't, say they're not bad or anything. They're good. But ours is different. Ours is that little bit different because, we have certain things like the Warren's Occult Museum that will be at the Paracon, and you can view some of these items that are in the museum, which you can't do it now because it's closed to the general public, the actual museum at the house.
Right.
So come to our events and you'll be able to view it. You can understand what some of these objects and the backstory of these objects are, and the teachings of Ed and Lorraine. That comes through us. It comes through Tony, Judy, Chris, Rick Clark, Jimmy Patanito has been in this field with the Warrens for a long time. So we have a pretty good foundation, and we have that experience that we're happy to share with others.
Right, exactly. And that's what sets you apart from other organizations is you're willing to share. Because I don't know how many times I've run into, groups. I mean, I know it's probably not something you guys do, but like groups that won't share locations they've investigated. They won't share their evidence. They just want to keep everything close knit because, they're waiting for the next show to come and get them because they have the secret evidence that they're hiding.
Yeah, no, I like working with other groups. I mean, I have, and this is funny because you have Keith and Carl Johnson that have been in this field for a long time, and they're twin brothers. They have different belief systems, but they work great together. But they respect me. They ask me to come on cases with them and work with them. I'm like, who am I? You guys been in this field for so long, but they respect me, and I appreciate that, and I respect them. Then you have the younger generations coming up. I respect Cody and Satori,
Yes.
And what they're doing, because they're great people. They're good people. You could tell in their hearts that they're good people, and their intentions are good. They're not really showboating. I think what they're doing is showing how they investigate and how they use each other when they investigate, and they lean on each other. And I think that's awesome because they're using their love to each other to do their investigations. It's almost like that's their armor, his love. So kudos to them. And I think they're going to make a good whatchamacallit impression on this field as the years go on. And I know their father, did the shows with Taps and everything, and kudos to him for all those seasons that they've been on TV. But he created a product in that girl that's taken it to a next level, I think, and that's something cool to watch, So, like I said, I like working with other groups. I like the different styles of investigating and everything like that. But when I see something that's not being properly um, performed correctly or done right, that's when I tend to I'll walk away from it. But when I see good intentions in people, I'll let it be known that who they are and what their intentions are and how they're presenting themselves as good people.
Exactly. Yeah. So your investigation style, is it walking into a building, provoking?
No,
or
I
is
never.
it going and getting
No,
answers?
no, I don't
Because you hear
provoke.
that all the time, that, the yelling and, come at me, come get me.
Nah, I never was like that. Like I said, growing up and seeing what this is capable of doing. I never liked to provoke because I already knew what was on the other side and how that could affect me.
Right.
So it was never my forte to do something like that.
And that's what the younger generations need to learn, is that that's not always the best method.
It's not. It's not. I mean, you're going to get good evidence, but that's evidence that's being, attracted towards you.
Right.
And physically wants to hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they really understand that, Like
Yep.
and it's probably something that won't happen in a day or two. It could happen 5 years down the road. It could happen 10 years down the road.
Right.
But it'll catch up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you continue doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And the best example I would say would be Arnie Johnson.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I had some of these influencers come to the house, and it was an eye opener for them because I had Arnie there to visit them.
Mm-hmm.
And Arnie explained to them what happens when you challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And who better else to tell that story but Arnie?
Right.
And Arnie Johnson, I mean, he's a good friend of mine. He's great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can learn a lot from Arnie. If I would go on an investigation and I'm dealing with something that's evil or anything like that, I will have Arnie on my side.
Right.
Because Arnie's been there. Arnie knows what to do and what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then that's the person I really do. I would want on my side,
Mm-hmm.
Because out of experience and his intentions, and Arnie's intentions were always good.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
you never challenged the demonic. You never challenge it.
Yeah. And it's always sad that someone had to go through that. But like you said, it's always nice to have someone like that has that experience on your side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
me and Arnie get along because like our backgrounds are similar, growing up in Bridgeport and everything,
right.
And knowing people that we've known as coincidences and everything like that. So we get along pretty good.
Right, that's cool. Yeah, it's always good because there's if you have someone that you can get along with on the I always tell people find someone that you can investigate with in the dark and you don't even need to talk.
Yeah, like I said, people know your intentions. Arnie knows what my intentions are, and they're only good, and I know his intentions. So that's why we get along really good together. And everybody that comes to our shows, they get along, and we have a great show. Even though there's a lot of people that show up, but they still have a good time because we're showing them a good time there.
Right. Exactly. And that's what people need to understand is, even with TV and events, is there's always going to be some level of entertainment value. Because if you go and you're not going to have fun, why go?
Exactly. And we try to give them that, but we also take time to talk to as many people as possible.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm walking through the event and I'm working, somebody pulls me to the side and wants to talk to me, I'll talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just one of those things, you want to make sure that everybody's happy. And Lorraine, same way. Lorraine never hesitated to talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had to pull Lorraine away from people because she wanted to talk to everybody. So we're the same way. We're catching it as we're getting older. We want to just keep on talking, and not really attend to business. But we lose that focus. But we really do like talking to people, and if they have any questions, we're happy to answer them as the best way possible. So I guess as we get older, we become more like Lorraine.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I love about you guys' Paracon, because after the show for like weeks, I'll see a whole bunch of people posting, was just walking through the Paracon and ran into, Judy, or ran into, Tony or Dan. And it was like, it's just really neat to see that you guys aren't standing behind a table.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you had Ryan Buell there, and, I always stuck by Ryan Buell. Because I knew he has a good heart. I know he went through his things and everything like that. Yeah. And I had long conversations with him, and he faced up to his mistakes and admits them. And I think, which is awesome, because that's the healing process. He's not holding any of that in. He admits to it, and he just finished grad school for psychology. Kudos to him. I mean, that's somebody that's shown me that he never gave up. He came back. He's stronger than ever before, and he has a message. So that takes a lot of strength, and someone like that, I'll give them a chance 100 times, because they're showing me that their heart's in the right place. And I invited him up to all the Paracons to come. You're more than happy to be a part of us, and because he's a good guy. Yeah, he really is. All right. And everybody has their faults in life, but he who's without sin cast the first stone. Jesus never gave up on them. Yep. So why should we judge them and give up on them too? And
that just shows his true intentions. Knowing he messed up and moving forward. And sometimes people who do that are stronger in the end.
He is. And you know what? You got to give him a lot of credit. And he's doing good. And going into school for psychology and everything. That's good for him. It's really good for him, and it's good for others, because he really can help people out and save lives.
Yeah.
Doing that in that practice. So maybe that's his goal, that's his passion, and that's his purpose in life, is to save others, because he's been through it.
Yep. Exactly. And I see Robin has joined us. Hi, Robin. And Jimmy has joined us. Hi, Jimmy. How are you doing? So when it comes to the museum, do you have a favorite artifact?
I don't really think.
Or you don't want to upset Annabelle?
No, I don't want to make Annabelle jealous. Really, I don't have a favorite in that artifacts in that museum. Like I said, every artifact has a story. And that's what we educate the public about, these stories that are attached to each item. So I don't, God, I'm not a fan of them, Right. It's like I said, it's a tool that we have to teach people. And that was the main purpose of the museum, was to collect these items and educate people that evil does exist. It could be through incantations, it could be through occult practices, creating tulpas. We have all that, and we educate people about that. All right. So it's for those upcoming investigators that want to learn that we have a message, or people that want to understand what's going on through their lives and what's going wrong. We have answers for them. And that's what the museum was meant for, is collecting that research in these items, because these items portray on what people go through life and how evil exists, and how you could create evil.
Exactly. And one more question, I guess, before I let you go, because I can't believe I've already had you on for almost an hour and a half.
I
is
told you, just it flows, doesn't it?
it does. It really does. And I'm sure I'll come up with more questions and I might not let you go right away. But the dinosaur in the
Yeah.
museum, that's from the Devil Made Me Do It case, right? With Arnie Johnson?
Right, right. That was one of David's toys, which that dinosaur was known to crawl on the floor by itself and telling everybody you're all going to die.
Okay.
So that dinosaur sat inside the museum for many years. And Debbie, David Glassow's sister, which is Arnie Johnson's wife, she had passed away recently. And prior to her passing away, she told me if I could build a case for the dinosaur. And she never got to see the case, but I did build it. And she gave me a set of rosaries that she made for me for my protection when I go on cases. Instead of using those rosaries for myself, I put those rosaries along the bottom of the dinosaur. So when we take that case to our events, it's protected by those rosaries that Debbie gave to me for my protection.
Mm-hmm.
But I put it in the case for everybody else's protection so people could view that dinosaur, and the dinosaur's in a safe enclosure now.
Right. Cool. And actually that brings up one more question. When you build these cases, what goes into them besides, like the rosaries for the dinosaur? What do you put in them to like keep these artifacts, I guess?
Yeah. With infused within the stain or the paint of the cases that I use, I infuse them with holy water, holy oil. Also, I put usually will be 3 crucifixes that I put on there that represents the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And also just Lord's prayers within the case itself. Behind Annabelle and behind the felt described in the wood is the Lord's Prayer behind Annabelle. So I add those added protections to those cases when we we bring them out to the public. So we take great precautions, and when we do that, this was never done before. These items never really left the museum, and that's why I built these traveling cases. So it's for your protection, in order for us to continue that legacy and telling the story and educating the public about the Warrens.
Right. And what's one more question? Sorry, the tarot card that's on Annabelle's case
represents the devil. Then that's why Ed, the original ones on Ed's case, which Ed put that on there that whatever inhabits that doll represents the devil, higher demons, lower demons. So that's the reason that symbol's on there.
Okay. Yep, I was always curious about that. But thank you for joining me this morning. Truly do appreciate you being here. If you can, real quick before you go, just let everybody know where they can find you and your team, as well as more information on how to get tickets for the upcoming convention.
Yeah, Facebook is the New England Society for Psychic Research. You can find us there. You can follow us there. For tickets for our event at Mohegan Sun Casino, the Seekers of the Supernatural Phantasmacon, you could go to nespr.ticketbud.com or go to warrens.net, and you can find our tickets purchasing links on that website as well.
Okay, perfect. And I'll make sure I share all of that on Facebook page as well, so that way people can see that and link directly to it. And again, truly appreciate having you on the show. Maybe before your convention, I can have both you and Tony on to do a little bit more promotion.
Yeah, great.
Discuss more questions that I'm sure will come up.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
And everyone, please stay tuned. We will be back right after this commercial break. everyone, and welcome back to Exploring the Paranormal. Wasn't Dan such a great guest? Definitely have to have him on again in the future. Jimmy, sorry, I didn't even see your comment, but your favorite in the museum is Flight 401 parts. I'm definitely going to have to look into that a little bit more. Would love to hear more about that. And actually, Jimmy, you're on my list of people to message, so expect a message from me later on today anyway. I'm working on getting a few show guests booked, and I have you on my list to get on the show. So again, if you guys have any questions about the paranormal, we do have, sorry, I probably should just keep my glasses on. We have about 20 minutes left before we start wrapping things up. I have a few things that I wanted to talk about real quick that I didn't quite get in the beginning because Dan joined early, which is great. He saved me from having to babble for 30 minutes until my guest arrived. So that was perfect timing today. But I do have a few announcements real quick. Again, let me, scrolling through my notes here. Really do want to earlier I had chatted about my show sponsor, Omni Interactions. Just want to remind everyone to please make sure you take time to learn more about their self-scheduling opportunities, which is the perfect life for a paranormal researcher. Information is on my Facebook page, or you can go to getgig.life/paranormal. And I'm pulling up here real quick. Of course, I mentioned on the last couple of shows, my Haunted Florida Lighthouses is set to come out on September 11th. So stay tuned for that and for more information on that. Tomorrow night, we do have an amazing presentation on Haunted York Merchants, or the title's been changed, but it's the Haunted Librarian. She's going to be joining us to talk about the ghost of York merchants and haunted different aspects in that. And I love the Haunted Librarian, Lizia. She's amazing. She digs into the history, looks further than just a Google search. Definitely love her research and everything that she has done. And just making sure. And actually what I wanted to do is give you guys a heads up. Hey, Ken, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today. And trying to get, okay. Just to go over a few things coming up for the show. We have next week, we will have Anubis Paranormal returning. When they were on earlier in the year, Anson couldn't make it because he wasn't feeling good, but we now have Christopher and Anson coming back to talk about all of their projects. We have a special show about Hatman research coming on May 9th. May 16th, David Taylor and Christy from Our Haunted Lives will be coming back. David was on a couple months ago, but Christy couldn't make it, so they're coming back on. On May 23rd, we're going to have Catherine Sorlios coming back on as well to discuss about what's happening with her recently. And I think we're also going to talk about junior paranormal investigators because her daughter has been investigating the paranormal for a while, as well as my son has. So we may bring that up. May 30th, Mark Cardenas from Midnight Paranormal Society will be coming back. June, if you guys can't tell, I was busy yesterday booking shows. June 6th, we have the Connor sisters. June 13th, Natalie Creeder will be joining us. June 20th, Joe Frankie will be coming back. June 27th, Kenneth, I see you in the comments commenting. So we'll have you on June 27th. I do, if anyone wants to be on the show to promote their paranormal team or anything they're doing, or just to talk about the paranormal, I do have July 4th open. And then on July 11th, I have C.L. Thomas joining us to talk about her books and her paranormal experiences. And then July 18th, I have Jeff Slackshire coming back on. He filled in earlier in the year for a guest who couldn't make it last minute. So this time we're actually working on a planned event or a planned interview. Plus I have many, many more. Lots of things are happening. So truly make sure you guys stay tuned. But one thing I do want to announce, I don't know if I was going to try to get him on, but I don't think I messaged him in time. But let me just send a quick message to see if I can do something real quick. Sorry, guys. Okay. While I wait for that response for that message, just a quick reminder again. Actually, I do have some interesting shows coming up on Ghost Education 101 coming up. Of course, we have a amazing panel on May 24th, it's a discussion on orbs. We have David Taylor from Our Haunted Lives, Bill Slevin from down here in Florida, Larry Lawson, who's also here in Florida, and Nick Carboni will be joining us. In June, we have a panel discussion on Ouija boards. We have Joe Frankie coming on, and I'm pairing him up against the Sin City Witch, a friend of mine from Vegas who uses Ouija boards. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see both sides of that. And then we have several more presentations, including Science and the Paranormal will be coming up. There's an actual presentation on that as well. So many, many things coming up. And since I'm not getting a response from my person here, oh, yes, I still need to get to Eldora. I'm working on it. I just haven't had a chance to get there yet, Lee, but I love the tip, and I've been doing research on it, so that's definitely coming up. And when I go there, I'll make sure I definitely share all the evidence and the experiences that we've had. But one thing, oh, hold on. Okay, but I'm okay, hold on one second. I do have an announcement that I want to make. Sending the link via Facebook. Okay. I do have an announcement that we're making, and I'm just pulling it up here real quick. And so that way you guys don't get bored and fall off because I'm busy doing other stuff. I do want you guys to make sure that you are following us, are following me. Hold on, sorry, Joe, or actually, okay, cat's out of the bag. It's Joe. Joe and I, oh, never mind. We'll do it later. But I'm going to make the announcement real quick. But Joe Frankie and I actually are starting a new radio show here on WLTK Radio. We don't have a start date yet, but it's going to be Passport to the Paranormal. Hopefully everything goes through. I know I talked to Todd earlier today. He was truly excited about it. And we're going to be getting things off where we're just going to be chit-chatting about all things paranormal, different theme topic every day. And the best thing about the show is on a lot of things, Joe and I have different points of view. So it's going to be interesting and to see how we work well together. So that is going to be a whole bunch of fun. I know a lot of people like to listen to Joe's stories, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, with that being said, I probably should not have let Dan leave early because I do not have any more things to cover regarding that. So as long as it's okay with Todd, rather than sit here and listen to me babble, and if no one has any questions, we're going to close out the show today. If you guys have any questions, you can find me at Dr. Heather Leigh, and you can also find me on Facebook at heatherleigh.phd or heatherleighphd.com, or as always here on WLTK Radio. So I will talk to you guys next week. See you guys in a week. Have a great day.
The truth is here and now on WLTK DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.